Yeah, friends, so let's start with our next lab. So our next lab is using a prompt flow to manage conversations in a chat application, right? So we will be using Azure AI Foundry portal's prompt flow. So for using prompt flow, we have to create hub and we cannot use it in a project. So that's why we need to create a hub resource, right? So you would create a custom chat app that uses a user prompt and chat history as input and uses GPT model for Azure from Azure OpenAI to generate output. So first of all, they are saying that we have to go to ai.azure.com. So let's go to ai.azure.com. So then we have we are in the ai.azure.com. So next thing they are saying that is that you have to go to management center all resources, right? So we will navigate to management center here, and in management center we'll navigate to all resources. Then they are saying that you have to create a new project, and uh, in a create a project wizard, enter valid name of project and select option to create a new hub. And then we will use the rename hub link to specify the valid name of our new hub. And in the advanced option, we will specify the following settings, right? So if you're working with your subscription, create button is disabled, right? So we will use this. So we are in the management center all resources. Now we will click on create new, and then we will go with Azure AI hub resource because it has the capability of prompt flow. Now we will go to the next, and then we will basically create the name of our project. So let's call it Lab-4, right? And now we have to rename our hub. So let's rename our hub to Lab-4 hub. You cannot have the same name for hub and your project name. So right, so we have renamed our hub. Now let's see the advanced options. So in advanced option we have selected our subscription region. We will select East US2 because they have mentioned that you should select East US2 or Sweden Central. And then in resource group we are creating a new resource group, RG Lab 4. And Azure AI Foundry resource, we are using the same Foundry resource which we already have. So as you can see in our resource group RG Lab 1, we already have this resource, Lab 1 res. This is the Azure AI Foundry resource. So we will be using the same resource because we have deployed the model there also. So we will be using the same resource, and we will just click now on create. So before that, let me take a screenshot for this. Right. So yeah. So let's create this. So RD Lab 4 could not be found. So it's saying that that resource group cannot be found. It cannot found that resource group because it's not created. So okay, we will say let's create the resource group. Now that resource group is created, now we can create it. So now it's just we will wait for the setting it up, and in the meantime let's see what we have to do. After that we have to configure resource authorization. So let me pause for a moment. So our Lab-4 hub resource has been created. As you can see, it has its own endpoint right here. So this is the Lab 1 REST service. So this is the same Foundry resource, right? So we have used the same Foundry resource. So that's why it is telling us about the Lab-1 REST.services, and that this is a Lab-4 hub project. You can see from here also. So this is our hub project, and this is our lab project. As in both, in our the first lab project we use the same AI Foundry resource. So in on that also, if you go to the Lab 1, right, you can say this see the same lab1.res, you know. And if you go to the Lab-4 our hub, there also you can see the same because we are using the same AI Foundry resource. And this is our um, hub project. And you can also see, if we go to models and endpoints, that then we have the deployed model which was already deployed in our Foundry resource, AI Foundry resource, right? So let's see what's the next. Let's go to the overview. This is our project. So what we have to do next. So yeah. So after creating my project and setting all the settings, wait for your project to be created. So our project is now created. Next thing we have to do is configure resource authorization. So for that, first what we have to do, I have read all this. So let's start. Uh, so first we have to check our new resource group. So in our new resource group, there is our key vault, there is our storage account, there is AI, Azure AI project resource and Azure AI hub resource, right? So let's also open this in another tab. So I can, right? So this is the resource group 4 that we have created, this RG Lab 4. And we also have RG Lab 1 resource. So if we go to RG Lab 1 resource group, so here we have Azure AI Foundry resource and Azure AI Foundry project resource. Whereas when we create a hub, we have AI Azure AI project resource and Azure AI hub resource. And besides that, we also have key vault and storage account. And our hub is using the same AI Foundry resource which is in this RG Lab 1 resource group. So it is using this same, this Lab 1 RAS resource. So that's why uh, we will configure the settings in this one. So first what we have to do, so this Foundry resource, we will go to this Foundry resource, and afterwards we will go to resource management tab, and in resource management tab we will click on identity. So in identity we want that this Azure AI Foundry resource should have its own managed identity. So that's why we will turn it on. So we will turn it on, the system managed identity. So in our case, the status is already on. So it already has a, system assigned managed identity. But if it was off, you have to turn it on and save the changes. So we have created a managed identity, or it was already created for us. So we have created a managed identity for Azure AI Foundry. Now we will go back to our resource group, and then we will go to the storage account. And in the storage account, we will go to this IAM access control tab, so identity access management. So why are we going to storage account? Because we want to set permission on this storage account, right? So we will first of all add a role assignment. So when we click on add a role assignment, so now from here we have to add. So in the storage account, when you go to the access control, you have to add a role of storage blob data reader. So let's search for storage blob data reader. So yeah, we can see here this allows for read access to Azure blob storage containers and data. So we will be assigning storage blob data reader. So let's add this role. So we view this role, we can read blob containers, and we can also we can get the list of blob containers. So these are all the permissions here, and then we go to the next. I think it's selected, so then we go to the next, right? So yeah, so we have the selected role, storage blob leader, blob storage blob data reader, and then we will assign, so to whom we want the access. So we want that our Azure AI Foundry should have access to this storage account as a storage blob data reader. So we want our AI Foundry resource to have a role of storage blob data reader, and we want that Azure AI Foundry resource. So for that we will click on manage identity, and then in manage identity, uh, we should go to the next now. So right, so it is the role of storage blob reader. I think we should go to the select members. So in this we will select the manage identity. So as you can see, there are all system assigned managed identity, and there is one managed identity for Azure AI Foundry. So we want to select this one. So this is the managed identity for this, and we have selected this, right? Now no member selected, so okay, select this. Now it's selected, and then select this. So this has been selected. So this is the managed identity we want the access to, and we want only one managed identity to have access, and this is this Azure AI Foundry resource. So now let's click on next. There are no conditions we want to specify. So now we have the role of storage blob reader. So we are providing the access of storage blob reader to our AI Foundry resource who has a managed identity of this Lab-1 res. So now we will review and assign. So we have reviewed it. Now we'll assign it. And now it's assigning the role assignment. So we will wait for it. So when you have reviewed and assigned the role, then you have basically allowed Azure AI Foundry managed identity to read blobs in the storage account, right? Now we can close this Foundry portal, like we can close the Azure portal tab and come to Azure AI Foundry portal, right? So, so I think it's completed now. So we have the access. Now the next thing is they want us to deploy a generative AI model, right? But we already have a generative AI model. So if we go to models and endpoint, then we already have a deployment of GPT-4o Mini Lab 1. So we do not need to do this step. And then let's come to create a prompt flow.